Hello, everyone, and good morning to one and all who is joining us for today's session. And for the ones who have been joining us from the past, like who have joined us last week, I hope you had an amazing learning experience and you learned a lot of new things from people from the industry. Because our main motto of doing these sessions on weekends is to help you learn through industry experts and also learn from the best. Okay. So, like talking about today's session, we have two sessions. One is currently 11 to 12 and the next is going to be in the evening 6 to 7. So let me just tell you about like the session which we are going to have right now. So talking about the speaker, we have Aravind Putrevu here with us, and like it's an honor to have him because he's a part of a lot of communities. So let me just give a brief about what he does. Okay, so Arvind always believed that technology can help change human lives in a positive way. He's also passionate about helping developers succeed in their quest for building new things. He's a developer who codes in multiple programming languages, and currently he's working as a senior developer advocate for Elastic. So, as you know, that Elastic is one of our primary sponsors for Swags, and he also helped us to get those Swags here in India. So, let me just, without wasting further time, like he's here with us. So, I'll just add him to the stream and let him interact with all of you. So, hi, Arvind. It's a pleasure to have you, and I hope you're doing well in these hard times. And thank you for coming here.
Thank you, Omkar. I guess, can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. Thank you for a great introduction. And I would say that DevIncept is an awesome community because I've been seeing the various sessions, and you have also reached out to me previously. It's an honor that we could, proactively take part in the community session and also do something knowledgeful so that people could learn. It's really great. Also, you have a session in the evening. That means it's a loaded Saturday. So I'm really happy to see all of that.
Wonderful. So we are going to have an amazing day today, and a lot of students who are. We have 30 plus people live watching us. So like whomsoever is going to attend this session, they are going to gain a lot of insights about Elasticsearch because you are going to talk about that, and it's a very fascinating topic. And I've been following Elastic from the past few months, and the work you guys been doing is really awesome. Okay, and today we are going to learn a lot of new things, like which we have not learned before and it's completely new. So let's get started into the learning. Okay, and I'll just add you to the main screen so that you can get started.
Sure. Okay, if you could put my screen share, that would be great. So, hi, hello, and welcome to the session again. I guess this is a session that I want to make sure that you would end of the day learn a lot and then not regret that, okay, this is not useful to me, and also like carry back and have a lot of questions to ask to the community or anyone, even to me. What I would also do in this session is like, give enough breaks. I mean, like even if it is like a 45-minute session, I would like to make sure that we take gaps and take questions. So if you have questions, please don't stop. Ask me about anything and everything that I'm going to talk or even not going to talk. So, or compare, ask any questions in the technology, and I'm really happy to talk to you about all of that because I love spending time with developers, talking about various things and learning from you as well. So as you know, I don't need to give an introduction about what we are going to talk specifically, but I want to tell you about myself a bit, which also like Omkar has already introduced. But then I run this developer communities for Elastic, and I also work with a lot of cloud partners like Google Cloud, Microsoft, and others, and like actively take part in contributing and also like doing meetups and other developer events, etc. Now it's all becoming YouTube now, and I'm doing more of these sessions day by day. But then like in it used to be like, I used to do a lot of travel a lot and do all of that. I also started a newsletter, and my DMs on Twitter are also open. If you have questions about developer advocacy, or if you have questions about getting started into mid-career CE previous career, you can also ask me. I'm happy to help. So yeah, I guess everyone is quite interested to know about Elasticsearch, and then I just want to like talk more about that today. So in general, everyone thinks Elastic is a search engine, but it also has a lot of other use cases. And if you don't know about Elasticsearch, also don't worry about it, because we're gonna go deep into it as a database, a data store, and everything. So specifically speaking about that, if you have ever used a ride sharing app in India, or if you are in Singapore, or if you are in US or anywhere, whenever you are putting a point A and point B and you're trying to fire a query, and then you chart out a map between that, and you fire a net, like you try to find out what are the what are cars that are there, that can come serve me, and like I could go and try travel to my destination. So that rider driver pairing is done by Uber, but then internally, like, this entire thing is done by Elasticsearch. So Elasticsearch helps you to find the rider driver pairing. So the search query is called a geo query that gets fired behind the scenes, and then helps you to do all of this. So it's a very niche, or like very the use case that nobody would have thought of, but it's a single query, and then you could also optimize more and more on top of it, actually. So similarly, you could also do search for food, like the favorite food. And if you have heard about like the food delivery companies, even in India, several of them, they use Elasticsearch for various reasons. And also, like, they kind of, like, you could do filtering, you could do all of that, and you can build apps on top. Similarly, on you can build apps on top of your the Elasticsearch system, interesting apps with enabled with search features using all of this, actually. There are many use cases similarly like to this. And then it's not about the logos, it's about the experiences that you can create. For example, I keep telling this every time, that, like, for example, if you are looking at and I've never thought there is like a dating app like Tinder could potentially use Elasticsearch to find partners or showcase recommendations, which is very interesting to me when I joined Elastic. So that's the cool thing about it. You could search for love, you could search for flights, you could search for groceries, you could search for location, or you could search for many things, which makes it very awesome. And search is the backbone upon which a lot of things are built. But till now, I'm only speaking about a search bar, right? But the search bar can also power a lot of things. That is what the project also has matured even moreover over a period of time, and became a lot. So there are three specific things that today's Elastic Stack would do. I would not call Elasticsearch, I would call it a stack. It's a developer stack, and it's free and open. But the reason why I call Elastic Stack, I'll go and explain in a minute. But then there are three specific use cases that we are looking at. One is like the search thing that we already spoke, and I'll also explain a bit more. Then you also have the observability, which is like in the DevOps side of the thing, the infrastructure, monitoring, logs, collecting metrics, collecting or enabling you to find bugs in your program, or finding out vulnerabilities and a lot of these things. And then you have the security part of it. I spoke about vulnerabilities and all, but about attacks, about preventing attacks, about detecting attacks, about protecting your infrastructure for an organization with respect to elastic security. That is also a possibility. I mean, that also is very taking fast. So I can tell a lot about the search. Whenever I say enterprise search, it is not the enterprise version of search. It is like the name is enterprise search because it caters to enterprises as well, because there are some specific details. Like, for example, you could crawl the data from various sources like GitHub, Jira, Gmail, Dropbox, Drive, whatever, or not. And all of these, this is one side of the things called workplace search, wherein you could search. If you are an employee or at a company and you want to build the search experience, you could do that. And you have an API, you could also send custom PDFs and Excel sheets, all of this, and we'll be able to search on top of it. That is one side of doing things. Other way is like, you could also build, suppose if you are building a Node.js app, or like a React based app, or even a Python Flask app, any app, right? And you have a search bar that you want to search through. And then you could also use the app search part of it to kind of like create a search experience. We have an interesting crawler that you could crawl the data from a specific API or an endpoint, and then build experience for. So this is an interesting thing. Please do try it out and let us know what you think about it, actually. So it's like a crawler that goes, you give the URL and it will go and crawl that website and build that search feature for you, actually. Similarly, like I said, you have these logs, metrics, APM. If you are having interest in DevOps side of things, or if you are looking at system engineering aspect, then this is your thing. You have we also provide information to look at the inventory, what infrastructure that you have, what is the health of that infrastructure, uh, reliability of that infrastructure, or if you're looking at SRE, site reliability engineering as well. So this is an interesting tool that people use from the SRE world to also do a lot of these things. And then like obviously detecting and preventing and protecting the assets and security. So we have a nice UI called Resolver. If you have a Windows system and you know how Windows system works, then it has a registry, and then you could find out like what is getting executed, what creates what registry files. A lot of interesting stuff actually. So there are three different aspects to this, but powered by the common technology stack. So I didn't tell you how this is a developer product. I told you like what use cases are there. So if that doesn't excite you, there are more actually. There are more things that you could do, and these are the three things that I could specifically talk about, because there are UI, so that you could go and correlate whatever I'm talking. But all three things powered by one single developer stack, which is Elasticstack. That's why I wrote about getting started with Elasticstack. Say like I said, Elasticsearch is the heart and soul of all of this, and Kibana is the UI on top of Elasticsearch, window into Elasticsearch, which sees what's happening and it shows you information. It has the visualization frameworks, and then you have Beats, which is a data shipper, and then it can ship data from a source to a destination. Logstash is a data puller, like wherein you could pull data from various sources. It has a large plugin ecosystem, which is more than 350 plugins. You could also write a plugin for a Logstash for your own use case. For example, I could tell you that you could use the Twitter developer API to kind of monitor a hashtag and bring all the data into Elasticsearch, and then showcase it in the Kibana, and using a visualizer, like how many times when this hashtag has tweeted, like how many people from which location. You could do all of that social media analysis. Similarly, that is one single use case that I told. Like you could do many things actually with Logstash, which is interesting. So yeah, so this is a stack that helps you to do a lot of these things, and there are more things that you could do. The Elasticsearch or the components are all platform agnostic. That means like you could deploy it on any OS, you could run it anywhere, be it Linux, Windows, or any other ecosystem. Or else you could also run it on a container platform, like container orchestration platform like Kubernetes. If you haven't heard of Kubernetes, get to know about it. It's very interesting. It's at least a great learning experience to understand about containers and orchestration, etc. And then you also have the Elastic Cloud, which is like the managed the hosted SaaS service, which can create the Elasticsearch as a service. I'll showcase that in a minute. And then it can run on anywhere, any cloud, platform agnostic, cloud agnostic. That helps you to do all of these things actually. So it can be deployed anywhere. Yeah, I'll just skip that. So at this point, if you have any questions, we're going to dig deeper into Elasticsearch. We're going to talk about more about Elasticsearch and explain more detail. I'll go with a visual route. But then if you have more questions or comments, I'm kind of like very interested to answer them at this point of time, and also like kind of tell you more about it. So any question? Yeah, this will be a bit of hands-on session. I'll just tell you how to create, where to create, what to create, and then you could also like go ahead and do that actually. So that that's the answer, Sonal. And then is Elasticsearch API free for student developers? The product itself is like a free product, and then you could potentially easily learn all of these products. I mean, there is nothing like paid, etc. We have a paid stack, but then like all of it is like you have a free API. Elasticsearch is a free and open product. So I'll tell you, like while I can show more things on the slides, there are so many slides I have, as you could see. I just don't want to go on talking. I just want to show the site, and like where you could download if you are going to do it by yourself, because you need to also understand the documentation and everything, right? And like someone was asking, yes, I'll show you a demo. I'll talk about all of that. Okay, so specifically, you have this elastic.co site where everything happens, and then you can go to the how do you download is like you could go here, like products, and then you could go and look at the three solutions that I spoke about, or like click on the elk stack, and then you could see what it is, and etc etc. If you want to run it on cloud, you can do that by clicking here. Otherwise, you kind of like click on download or get started. It will take you this place, and then you could choose what OS you want to download and how you want to go. There are additional instructions. If you are more pro and you don't want all of this, you could go to elasticco.co/downloads, and then go and see all the products that are available, and then click download, and then choose the distro that you want to use in. Like if you are in ARM architecture, then you could also use that specific architecture. But if you are in x86, like Intel based processors, then you could use Linux, Debian, or Debian, or Red Hat, or Windows, etc. You could also use Homebrew. If you're on Mac, you could use Homebrew to install all of this. I have it. I could just simply type. You could do brew install Elastic, and then like you start Elasticsearch, it will simply start. So that's also a possibility. So you could also run it on Docker. You have a Docker repo as well, docker.elastic.co. So this is the site, and then like I said, this is only Elasticsearch. You have Kibana. Usually people use at least these two, so that you could go and take a look at it actually. And these are the various other products that you could use along with that. So what I'll do is like I'll showcase you the cloud, and that I guess the cloud helps you to learn a lot of these things. I am not seeing your questions, but I'll come to them. So please keep them coming as and when I speak. If you have a question like, oh, how to download that, or do you have this? So please do ask that, and then we can come back to that actually. So now, how did I come here? I could go and click on try free. It will take me to here. But I also like use the directly cloud.elastic.co, which brought me here. I have an account. You could also get an account. I'll share that link actually. You could also directly start, but then I'll give you a special link so that you get more days to try it out and build on stuff on top of it. Now you could we will create a cluster. It will take 2 or 3 minutes. By the time we'll finish some theory and come back actually. So this is how the cloud portal or everything would look like. The videos or learning material, trainings. If you want to take some trainings, there are some good trainings that you could go and toy around, and then the documentation, etc. Oh, I didn't show you the documentation here. So documentation, you could go to elastic.co/docs, or you could go to learn and then click on product guides. This is getting updated as we speak, and it's not going to be so many links, and then it will become much better. I would always recommend you to go through Elasticsearch guide. That's a fantastic. We also have a book, but it's quite old. I guess who is reading books now? It's all internet and blogs, etc. Right? So we don't have a book in recent times, but then that was there, and so you could go to Elasticsearch guide, and like each one has a very extensive, detailed documentation that you could learn from. So the same documentation link is given here that you could use actually. So I'll simply click on create deployment, and then I'll name it as DevIncept. Okay, DevIncept, and then it shows DCP around, but like I think I'll use Mumbai because that is quite cool. And then we could choose what are the hardware profile of the machines, compute optimized, memory optimized. Don't worry about it too much. Like you could do it later as well. I could restore it from a snapshot. But for you, if you are starting, you will not see it shows a rate, but I don't think that you need to worry about it. I'll click create deployment. It just creates a deployment and shows me a username password that you could copy, or you can automatically log into it. So login is not a big deal for us. So don't worry about it, and then like we'll come back by the time what we want to do actually. So okay, while this video is being played, let us come back to the session, and then talk more about Elasticsearch, learn some terms, and then we'll go back seeing the demo. So this is as hands-on as it could get, and then learn actually. So basically, whenever I keep talking about Elasticsearch, I keep seeing that people ask me, is it a database? Is it a data store? Right? People ask me, is it a NoSQL data store? Like NoSQL DB, okay? Or is it powered by MySQL, or PostgreSQL? Like there are so many questions, right? I guess in today's world, people get to know about a lot of these things, but I also feel that there is missing fundamentals, and then and in colleges, I guess, like, we do get kind of fundamentals, but I came from the same area where you are in, and then I understand that it might be confusing, and we are all probably learning for the exams that we are, which might not be so useful. So what I'm going to talk about today is, like, I'm going to answer some of these. I'm going to tell, what Elasticsearch is it easy to learn? I'll explain you that. So basically, Elasticsearch is a search engine. Okay. Uh, it can do search things, anything related to search, but it also holds the data. It is not powered by any database like Oracle, MySQL, or PostgreSQL. It is an engine by itself. It's an engine. It has an engine, and it also powered by a specific library that I'll also tell you about that. That's also open source. So basically, you run Elasticsearch obviously in VMs or containers or your laptops, right? Say, for example, think that this is my laptop, right? I say laptop. So if this is my laptop, and I have multiple programs running, and if I want to run Elasticsearch, and in under ideal conditions, I'm telling today, right? If you want to go and do that, you open a command line instance, and then you kind of like download Elasticsearch to a folder, and that unzip that ES folder, and go to /bin /Elasticsearch. uh, Bingo, you're there. Elasticsearch has started. That's it. So there is nothing special that you need to do, but like, we'll leave this as such, and we'll start another instance. Suppose if you could do the same with what do you call, VM, or you could use a container, like, if you want to, but we also provide container images, so I don't think that is needed for you to do. But then you could go to a VM, create a VM, and then, like, you download it, same things, command, unzip, and then /bin /Elasticsearch. Now, one thing that I didn't tell you, people, is Elasticsearch is written in Java, and then, like, you don't need to know Java actually. So it's written in Java, but then it can run, it can kind of like is useful for any developer, any programming language developer. It doesn't really matter which language you are in, but then it needs the JDK. So we are bundling Elasticsearch with the JDK, so that you don't need to install, you even if you don't have Java on your machine. But I think which developer doesn't have Java? Probably most people have some sort of JRE running. So it's already there with Elasticsearch, and when you click start, it will simply start that. So that is how Elasticsearch gets started. You could run it anywhere, any OS, on a command line. Just open and do it. If you are using a Linux box, I know I don't need to tell about the terminal and a lot of these things, right? So that's how you run Elasticsearch. Now, Elasticsearch is a distributed system. That means, like, you have multiple nodes. So this is one node, imagine, and then you have another node, and you can also have another node. So what is this node? Like, these nodes are nothing but your VMs. Like, this can be a VM, and this can be another VM in the same network, and this can be another VM. All are under, like, the same network. Like, all of these are under the same subnet, like, say 10.1.1. Like, X. So it's under the same subnet, so that these all can communicate together as a VMs, and then start talking and start sharing data. Now, like, I'm telling the production level quality, like, how you can implement Elasticsearch, and then, like, you do the same thing that I told previously, and then get started with Elasticsearch. So this is, yeah, like, if you want to do say you want to build a ebay.com search, or if you want to mimic Google itself, if you want to do that, you want to build a search engine, this is how you do it. Like, you build VMs, and you massively scale that. So what Elasticsearch basically does is, like, it spreads the data across the cluster, so that, like, there are advantages doing that. There is, if suppose one VM goes off, and then still the data persists, it's called fault tolerance. And suppose and it also enables you to do that parallel computing, enables you to do the high availability kind of a situation. So each one is called Elasticsearch node. Each one runs the bin Elasticsearch process that we spoke previously, and that helps you to build this cluster. So what we learned here is, this is called the Elasticsearch cluster, and this is called Elasticsearch node. So each one is a Elasticsearch node. So if anybody asks you, like, how many nodes do you have in Elasticsearch? So what do you say? I think you have 3 nodes, right? 3 nodes that are working together and do that. But you might also ask me, you told me that you could run this in laptop. How do I create multiple nodes in laptop? if you got that question, that's very nice. So you could also do that in your laptop. So what you need to essentially do is like you create 3 command line instances. I think each one of you might be using a fancy terminal now today, like iterm or something. So you could very well create multiple tabs. Just create 3 tabs, give different data directory, of course, that's very important. So here that data folder is data 1, data 2, and the data 3. That means you show 3 different folders. It can't be having the same data folder, because we said that data is splitted, data is distributed. So that's how you could create a 3 node Elasticsearch even in your laptop, but 1 node is good enough for development actually. So it simply works. So 3 node is for production, wherein you have large scale use cases, etc. So it's a simple search engine. It acts like a data store. It has a REST API. So whenever you create this, the entire cluster, this entire system, let me try to do this. So the entire system, is having is runs at this place, like uh, your local host. If you have a public IP for these machines, one of these machine, you can do that. If not, also like any one of the machine, you can access that IP, and then it call this port, and then it will give you Elasticsearch. So we're going to do that here in this particular place actually. So that is how you can kind of take a look at Elasticsearch is running or not, what version it is, etc., etc. And this is just an get API. So you do get of this, it simply does that. You could also do it in Postman, curl, etc., etc. Okay, so now if I want to call ingest some data, search through it, I can also do that. But before that, we need to understand another concept, which is called the the indexes. So how do you store data in Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch stores data in indices, not tables, not collections. If you are from MongoDB background or having some NoSQL background, it not tables, like not other way. It's called indices because it's a search engine, right? So what it does here is like it creates an index that spans across multiple nodes, and that could be anything. Like say, for example, the name is DevIncept. I created this index, and then this index is spreads across, the data is spread across multiple nodes. And whenever you call say localhost, say, let me type here itself, say DevIncept, and this the data in this particular machine will come out. So that is how this entire thing would work. Like you could also search on top of it, ask queries, and get more data. So that's where the power of Elasticsearch works in. Because it's a search engine, it gives you results instantaneously. It also does what you call the real-time analytics, so through which you will be able to ask questions which are analytical in nature. Like get me the most significant terms in this particular index for this particular time period. You could ask questions like that, or you could find out like say how many times this particular thing has been repeated. N number of questions, different types of analytical queries we call aggregations. You could mix and match and do also all of this actually. So I spoke a lot of time, and I want to take a break, and then also like come back to see if you have any more questions, and then like I can answer you more questions. Any more questions that you have here? Um, okay, I think you might not have more questions at this point of time, but then like I'll come back and then like take more questions. Do feel free to ask questions and put it here so that we could talk more about it actually. So yes, you could build apps with Elasticsearch. So this is a backend cluster and etc. And then you could potentially use Node.js, because it's an API oriented system. You could use Node.js. You could use any development framework like Python, Spring Boot, whatever, Go, anything. And then you could simply build an application on top of it, and it becomes very easy. So most search bars that you see are powered by Elasticsearch. So it's quite popular in the world for building search, and it's quite different from various other NoSQL data sources that are there actually. So this is how the cluster and everything is found. Now we'll go back to the UI and show you everything. So my deployment is ready. So let me click continue, and it will take me to the Kibana. So now we spoke about Elasticsearch quite a bit of time, right? I explained that it has an API and shows all of that. But how does it, how can I view something? Does this has a UI, or how does this really work? So how it works is like Elasticsearch can also has a UI, a window which is called Kibana. Actually, Kibana is the UI that Elasticsearch works with. So it's a bidirectional one. It's not a unidirectional one. Both sides it works. So it is not that it is only one sided. So you have information transfer happening between both of these systems. Like, Kibana is the one that reads the Elasticsearch and looks into all of this. Kibana runs at again local, when you start the system, local host like 5601. That is where Kibana runs, and then that's where everything is happening actually. So this is how this is what we are going to see here. Like, you have an Elasticsearch cluster that is pinned up in the cloud, and you are seeing Kibana. Through Kibana we are accessing Elasticsearch, and that is the UI that you see here. So Kibana is a UI that you see. And I explained you about 3 apps, right? Like, enterprise search, observability, and security. And then you have also the regular Kibana stuff that you could also go and look at. So before I get to, like, talk more about it, let's also take a look at the API first of all. Like, I just pressed command slash, or like, control slash forever, whatever OS you are using, and then it opens me the search UI. I type dev, and then dev tools. I went to the dev tools where you could execute the APIs of Elasticsearch here in the console, which is like a postman kind of interface. And then you have get, and then I type slash, which is like localhost 9000, and then I press enter. As you could see, I'll make it bigger, uh, which is like, I hope 24 is not too bigger. Yeah, so this is what you could see. Like, it says like 7.1.13.3 is the cluster that we type. Build is Docker. It's running in a container, and these are the various details. Tagline, for search. Okay, so now let us create an index, or let us see what indices are there. Like, there might be several system indices. Like, let us type get underscore cat. These are APIs, and you could call these APIs from the language client itself. Like, Elasticsearch has a Elasticsearch clients. I'm going to the documentation to show you that. Elasticsearch clients. So where you have clients for each and every language that you have. You have a Java client, JavaScript, Ruby, Go, .NET, PHP, Perl. We also have a client for Lua, I think. So there are many clients. There is a Rust client as well. So if you want to try that. We also have a data science library. It's called Eland, which helps us to do the pandas kind of a thing with Elasticsearch. It's very popular, used in machine learning, etc. So Elasticsearch also has a machine learning concept, and which does many things. So cat indices will show you the number of indices that are there. Say, they're all the indices which start with dot are like, system indices, so don't worry about it. But then, like, all the indices that are started with normal one are the indices that we have created. So forget about this one, but we will get to, because the font is bigger and then there is more data, probably you might be worried about what it is actually. So let me get to this particular thing, and then you have like, I want to create an index. Like, I told you about, like, if I create an index like DevIncept, it spreads across multiple nodes, and then you could create an index and you could call that using that particular. Say, I'll put DevIncept. We didn't create it yet, so I'm gonna put post, and then I say this thing. Okay, sorry, it should be put. So I kind of like do that. We created an index named DevIncept. Now we could post the like, some documents into DevIncept, and and whatever I'm showing you is a API level thing, and you could also do it in your respectful programming languages. Like, say, if it is Java, like I say Elasticsearch is equal to new Elasticsearch, and then give the Elasticsearch IP, and then say Elasticsearch dot create index, Elasticsearch dot put data, delete data, all of those, create, read, update, delete. Like, so I say name, okay, Aravind, and then like, event, I'll say DevIncept, and then I have date. So I'll use 2021 07 17, and I can also use time actually, and then that will give me that particular area. So I just ingested the data, and then if you see, I have created document which is in the DevIncept, and then I can also go and query this data that is there into the in the DevIncept that is stored in the DevIncept. I'll come back to some more things, so which might be confusion at this point of time for you. So I'll just say search. Let me bring that up. So I have search, and then type enter, and then it has a document that we ingested, and that is stored here. Now it shares hits, etc., etc. So that's there. But you could also do more things with the data and everything. Elasticsearch is not schema less, it is schema free. That means it has like data type and everything like just any other database. Like if you are looking at creating a SQL table, like you see create table name varchar, date is date, etc., etc., right? Similar way you could also look at the mapping. So mapping is the schema here, wherein you have date is date, text is keyword, another text, I mean like name is another keyword, event is another keyword. You will also change, you could go and look at the field types which is there in the data, the documentation. Again, we would go and look at, learn about the field mapping, etc., of Elasticsearch, which shows about the data types that are available and all of these things that are there, and interesting stuff. So yeah, so that is about the details. Elasticsearch ingests JSON type data, and all these data ingestion things would help you to kind of like get that what do you call the convert the data into the JSON. Like you could use Logstash, you could use Beats, you could use the libraries which are there to kind of like send the data in the JSON. I think most APIs now today take JSON. You could also convert the PDFs, etc., etc. We make sure that we ingest in a proper format. So that is one thing that is there. And then you also have what do you call the index can also be searched. There are many APIs that are there here. I would definitely recommend you to go and take a look at it, because I think it's really difficult to cover everything in a single session. But then there are many APIs. More specifically, you should definitely take a look at the document APIs, create, read, update, delete. And then you should take a look at the search APIs, which are very important. And how do you search the data? And then you also definitely need to take a look at the aggregations functionality, which is the prime feature of Elasticsearch, that helps you to dice and slice the data, build interesting stuff. Now, I was speaking for a long time. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer, ask you kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, what is the difference between Elasticsearch and Angolia? The regular question I keep getting. And Elasticsearch and Algolia. Elasticsearch is like kind of a full text search, and it's for large scale, big use cases. And then over a period of time, many people also want us to build something similar to what Algolia does. And then Elasticsearch is also open source. That's one difference that I could tell you. And efficiently, I could say that today we have something similar. It's called App Search. You should definitely take a look at that. So it's there in here. And App Search is something very similar that what Algolia does. So I have done several sessions on that as well. So Algolia is playing a small part in whatever Elasticsearch is doing in a big level. It also does everything. So script based queries, e-commerce search engines, log searches, and different stuff, analytics on the data. It is more powerful. It's not just limited to the search. In search itself, it's very huge in terms of doing vector search, in terms of doing machine learning on things. So there are many differences. One thing that brings me to mind is like today now you have this app search thing which you could directly correlate. App search or Algolia are more for the, you have an app and you have some data and then you want to search on top of it. Just simple, just get over it. That's where Elasticsearch is for a bit more large use cases, and also like a huge project in a different manner. So that's the primary reason. Can I use Elasticsearch with Firebase? Obviously, you could definitely use Elasticsearch with Firebase. Firebase is I know it's a real-time app platform where you have a suite of services like Auth, and Firestore is also there. But many people move over from Firestore to Elastic over a period of time, or you pair it up, you use the logs, bring in those logs, etc., etc. So you could also use that actually. So it's also possible. Kibana and Elasticsearch run on different local ports. Yes, Kibana and Elasticsearch run on different local ports. 9200 is Elasticsearch. 5601 is Kibana. You could also potentially change or do all of this in our cloud. We use a different sort of port. If you see here, it's 9243. Just in case if you are wondering about that, you could do that as well. Yeah. how to Tesla car driving using with the map. Okay, I didn't understand the question exactly, but as far as I could, understand that how do you do that to and fro thing that you are asking. So Elasticsearch has a feature which is geo based. It can ingest points, location points. Like you have, how do you have location? Like in a north and south location, right? You have a point, right? Latitude and longitude. I'm sorry. So you have a latitude and longitude. You could put that into Elasticsearch, and then you could do that. So we have a maps use case. I'm not talking about the map that I showed previously. That is a Google map, and then they are overlaying their data on top of that data. But then I'm talking about how do you put the geo data that is there in Elasticsearch to do that. You could use this in multiple varieties. So this is one variety I'm talking about. Whatever, if you are looking to, like, connect 2 points, like you point A and point B, and draw maps, that is a I'm sorry, that is a still a maps level functionality. But if you want to find out which car is there, or like you want to do all of that analysis, that is another thing to look at actually. But it's a real-time app platform. A lot of people working in the IoT industry, and the I wouldn't say artificial intelligence, but machine learning industry would actively use Elasticsearch. Actually, there are many use cases I can't talk about specifically, but then it's also there. Is there any feature to highlight the word which you are searching? Yes, definitely it is there. So you have the highlight functionality, which is available. You could highlight, you could do query or query on type. I can't find the the exact API. Maybe I'll just search for the API, but it is there. You could highlight specific words, and you could then kind of build that particular highlight functionality as well. Like say if you typed say DevIncept, and then all the DevIncept things will be highlighted in yellow color. That can be done. There is one specific question that I want to take again, AWS Elasticsearch, what are the benefit? So Elasticsearch and AWS Elasticsearch are fundamentally very different. So they are different solutions altogether. So if you go and take a look at compare AWS Elasticsearch below, yeah, obviously Elastic is more than Amazon's Elastic service. Both are we are the creators of Elasticsearch, and we have the open source project. So if you are interested in contributing or learning more or building it on your own, right? So we have Elasticsearch here. There are a ton of open source projects. We also run a contributor program, not just for code, but anything. Like you could answer queries on Stack Overflow or Discuss platform, or write blogs, or do videos, run events, speak at events, do a lot of these things. So we have a contributor program and give rewards, swag, etc. to that. So this is Elasticsearch Code, and this is where the original product lives in. Everything that you are seeing, because of its popularity, just like Linux, there are various variants, but this is the original product that I am talking about. I am showing you, and you could also go and look at the link that is given here. Yeah, in the Elasticsearch. Okay. So one thing that I spoke about and I didn't share you is like the contributor program. I think you all should definitely take a look at it. Where is that? Okay. So this is the contributor program, elastic.com/community/contributor. I'll share this link, and then you could start looking at it. So I know some of you are very aspiring and want to contribute to companies, and then build your profile. So that's one way to look at it. So yeah, it's very different. It's definitely unique. So where is Elasticsearch stored? I guess there is one more question that I really can't get off. Like the data is stored on the disk. So whatever the disk that you attach, and it is stored in a different format. It's not like we store the same JSON file. We store in a different format altogether. That helps you to do all of this. And what is cluster in Elasticsearch? I guess I showed you that you have multiple nodes all together form the cluster topology. In a distributed system, you have clusters for a lot of these things, like Kubernetes cluster, Redis cluster, Ceph cluster. Like cluster is like a topology that you could form, put a multiple nodes and make sure that it works. It's a distributed technology acronym that many people use it actually. Is everything in Elasticsearch Elastic related to API? We can write our own code. You could write your own code, right? That's why I was telling that. So you could go to my GitHub profile, and you could find some samples. So I have app search related sample, which is a Flask app. I wrote it on the top of using the Flask framework, and I use the app search client, and then I built this one. So it's a simple 40-line code, but it does the search engine functionality. So you could go and take a look at this particular app that is already there. So similarly, you could use Python client, like I showed the clients. You could use any client and build anything. There are so much community around Elasticsearch, and then like you could obviously learn more from that actually. Uh, Difference between the Google search and Elasticsearch. Okay, there's a lot of difference. Google search is a B2C engine. It's a consumer search engine, and Elasticsearch is for B2B. Like say, if you are looking at eBay, right, ebay.com, and then if the search bar is not Google search, right? And whatever the search bar is a search that where the data of eBay resides. Like if I say Casio and then I'm searching for it, it goes into and find out all the relevant search details. It also finds out what types of date, like what types of watches are there, what department, more details. So all of this is called faceting in search, which is again generated by a search engine, which is Elasticsearch. These are the search results that are hits which came whenever I searched. I did underscore search, right, which showed these details. And all of these are suggestions, related keywords. You could also generate this from another query. These are categories. So I could keep going on. Like, this is what the custom search engines, which are built for business to business, like, for businesses actually, for companies. They have their own data sets and they want to do search on top of it. Elasticsearch is the go-to one. And I showed just one example, and there are many examples out there. I mean, not just for search. Even for someone like NASA, they use Elasticsearch for various use cases. One recent use case is like the Mars rover, which went on to the Mars, and contains speaks back to Elasticsearch actually. So they ingest a lot of time series data, which is analyzed later using Elasticsearch. So there are many use cases, and which is very different from Google search, etc. What is data storage functionality in Elasticsearch? So one thing that I didn't specifically cover for Elasticsearch is a lot many people definitely ask me this question, which is what powers Elasticsearch? Elasticsearch is powered by a Java library called Apache Lucene. Lucene is a top level project, and which is great for full text search, but it's a Java library, and everyone needs to become a Java library to do that. And it is not also distributed in nature. It's a simple jar that's just like your Python package or Node.js package. And what Lucene does is like it offers fantastic data structures to store, retrieve your data. What we are doing here in Elasticsearch, if you see here, there is something different. Again, inside the index, there is something called shards, and then those shards are Lucene indices actually, and then that helps you to search through the data. But what we added is like instead of having only one jar, we have a distributed system which grows horizontally. Now tomorrow if I want to add another node, I will extend this perimeter and like add one more node, right? I'll do that. So that's how the Elasticsearch thing works, like, and that's how it scales for massive amounts of data. So that's why it's challenging to use directly for a Java use case, only limited to Java developers, but then, and again, not designed for scale. So Elasticsearch does all of this easily. So if you are very much interested into learn Lucene, like you could go to lucene.apache.org. I hope I'm right. And then you could definitely go and learn more about it. One important thing that I want to tell you is like Elasticsearch is active contributor to Lucene, and then we actively build Lucene. We sit in the project management chair, and then we are one of the prime contributors for a lot of features in Lucene even today, because we believe in contributing back to the community from where it is coming. So that's something that I specifically want to mention. So yeah, I guess what else? What other questions that you have? So which companies are using Elasticsearch? So I have these. You could go to the top level and just go to customers. You have a lot of videos, blogs, tutorials. Of course, like today I see Walmart here, but then you have Adobe, T-Mobile, Audi, and multiple customers. If you want to go by specific use case, You have people like US Air Force or Red Hat or University of Oxford who are using it for the security use cases, etc., etc. You would go and look into all of this. There are some videos as well specifically which are used. So yeah, so you could take a look at that. So I'll definitely, like, I think I have shared enough links, so you could also take a look at that. Yeah, so I have given my blog, I have given my newsletter. Please do join. I run a weekly newsletter on tech and more things about Elasticsearch and search, observability, etc. I also cover open source projects and which might be very interesting for you all of. So we could do that, all of that. Otherwise my DMs are open. If you can't ask a question specifically here, you could ask in my DM in the Twitter, or connect to me on LinkedIn, or you could also like write in the Slack channel, that the link that was posted previously. So that's it from my side. And if you have more questions, or if you want to learn more, I believe you know where to go. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an amazing session, like Arvind, and I think a lot of people, uh, there are a lot of takeaways out of this session. Okay, and thank you for coming here and talking about Elastic. It's definitely one of the best search engines I've come across. Like after attending your session, it's definitely it's definitely worth it. Okay, so to everyone, I have shared all the links to Arvind's social handles, his portfolio, everything, and a lot of people are asking about the link. So here's the link for the attendance form, so you guys can check it out. So I'll also highlight it. So this is the form link, we have shared it, so make sure you fill it. And thank you so much, Arvind, for your time, like on a weekend. I know that you must be busy with work, but still you came here and delivered this amazing session, which was kind of informative as well as hands-on, where you actually try to commit few things and show like how the Elastic search engine works, and actually giving a brief idea about the entire working of the, like how Elastic works, Elastic search works. And I want to wish you best of luck. Okay, I also learned a lot of new things, and so do the audience. And we have some great comments coming in, so let me just flash it. So a lot of people are saying good things about the session, they really enjoyed it. And these are some of the good comments that we have.
Thank you, everyone. I guess there is one question that I couldn't answer, and then I'm happy to take it on DM if you have. We will definitely talk more about it, and feel free to uh, ask more questions, and I'm always happy to help. Yeah.
Yeah, so like before we go, I wanted to ask you just one question, okay, before we go. So a lot of questions you have answered from the audience, like which are related to Elastic. So how has been your journey with Elastic up till now? Like the day you started, like up till now, how it? So just express your feelings.
Yeah, I have written a blog about it as well. So it's been nearly 4 years, and then Elastic is a remote company. We don't like to call ourselves as remote. We like to call ourselves as a distributed company, where there are a lot of interesting things that we do. But then it's been a great experience. And then as a developer advocate, I always wanted to be a as a developer. When I was working, I want to be a developer advocate, and then when I reached this role, I really enjoyed meeting developers in various countries and traveling there. Of course, due to pandemic, things have changed a lot. It has become all virtual. But then I spoke at several conferences, which was really nice. So my experience was really exciting. And then I also want to do more work and then like more interesting things. And that the organization allows me to experiment and try to do new things actually.
Wonderful. That's great to know. And I hope that you had an amazing session here. So like, how was your experience? Did you enjoy this session? Was it interactive for you? Like, how was it?
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed. There were a lot of questions. I didn't expect people to join, log in, and ask a lot of questions. So, but I really enjoyed it. Thank you all. And even though if it is less number of people asking questions, or even though it is Saturday morning, I guess you are all like awesome. and then built a lot of hard work. And yeah.
Great. And before we go, do you want to give some motivation to the upcoming developers who are kind of like going to like start their developer journey with Elastic or with anything? Like, what are some of the
Yeah.
words of motivation you want to give?
Yeah, so this is something that I'm trying to do nowadays, because I guess a lot of people keep asking me about this, or like they try to get to try to find out specific jobs. I try to follow trends, etc. And that's why I was saying, like, you could subscribe to my newsletter where I was talking about all of these things about hiring and how to prepare for skills, etc. But then one thing that I specifically tell: don't go by trends like AI, ML, data science, any specific tool, even Elastic or any other specific company, or any specific tool or cloud or anything. Be in a very early in the career. You need to be, if you are early, and like you're not having even 1 or 2 years of experience, you just need to, like, make sure that you keep open to learning. So learn as much as you can. That helped me a lot in my initial times. Before 9 years or 10 years, I started my journey in the technology world. And then it was just that I helped. Internet is awesome. You could learn a lot of courses, even by paying some sort of, like, some money. Spend money on things that you really enjoy learning with. If it is photography, if it's like animation, if it's something that you like, do that. And probably there is a career waiting for you, and you might not know. And
Wonderful.
that's probably something that is there.
Wonderful. And I want, like, we at DevIncept want to personally thank you so much for arranging these amazing swags for us, and that too in just less time. And a lot of our community members are going to get it, who are going to be a part of our quiz contests, which are going to be happening. And it's an honor, like, to have you here and speaking about such a trending topic. And the swags which you sent us, it's really good. Okay, it's very kind of very like eye catchy, and a lot of people do want to get those swags. Okay, so they are actually like they are participating this session, they are learning a lot of new things, and they are taking away that swags as well, like if they perform well in the quiz. So just to, like, we have one more question here.
Sure. So I don't have specific tips. Like I said, I over-indexed. Probably I felt now. I guess, like, I spoke more about search, but there are many things in Elasticsearch. And then you could learn other tools, and, like, you could build monitoring stuff. One suggestion that I gave some days back in a hackathon, that many people like this. Like, you could monitor your home Wi-Fi using Elasticsearch. You could collect logs and see what sort of devices that are connected. And I'm not saying your browsing data. I'm talking about your router and how the packets are being sent. And is there any trackers that are there? Somebody has snooping in. A lot of things that you could do from your home router itself. So that is one good idea. Then you could build multitude of apps on different things. You could build Flutter apps, Android apps, Swift based apps, backend related work, obviously Node.js and any other JS, GraphQL. Yeah, you could do pandas kind of detections. Like, you could run eland. I didn't talk about that, but you could go and look at eland, and then, like, do some sort of machine learning related work, bringing. That's also cool. So options are unlimited to me. Yeah.
So do you want to talk about like the community you have on Elastic right now? Like, how many members do you have in your Elastic community, and like how is the culture there? Can you just talk a bit about that?
So if I have to tell you, Elastic, we never counted the community exactly, because it's very large, probably in millions.
Wow.
Because Elasticsearch has a very large developer ecosystem, and it spans across, globally. It spans across a lot of. It's beyond borders. And then you also have we also run the 300 or 400 meetup groups. And then we do, like, average 600 events, like meetup only events in the Elastic world. And then we do a lot of events like these, sponsor hackathons, work with universities, etc., etc. And that is one another thing that we do. So it's very large. We started our Slack group very late, because we used to have IRC. I guess not many people might not have seen IRC. Now it's kind of dead. So we used to have a IRC channel, but then we recently started 1 year or 1.5 year back a Slack group, and then now it is around 8,000 people, and
Wow.
there is a Discord forum which is like, which recently touched 85,000 Elasticsearch posts only, and that's only Elasticsearch. So there are many things like that. If I don't have a count or a number to share specifically, because it's very large community.
That's quite inspiring. It's what I feel, and we also at DevIncept taken a lot of like inspiration from such initiatives, such communities, because it's what like made us start. Like it's like that. Looking at you guys, we started our journey. Okay, and it was an amazing day today, and it was an amazing like platform here, like on DevIncept, and I had an amazing conversation with you, Arvind. I hope you enjoyed it. And
Yes.
before we go, I just wanted to give an update to the people who are live watching us. So, giving you an update about our next session, it's going to be not in the afternoon like last week, but it's going to be in the evening, 6 to 7. And the topic is going to be stepping into UI/UX. So, all the UI/UX enthusiasts can come join us. Also, the quiz session is also going to be there. Here also, you'll after the UI/UX session, you'll have an opportunity to opt for the quiz. Okay, and it's going to be delivered by Akshita Bindra. So she's a founder of a UI UX design startup. So make sure you join in the evening and learn more about UI UX if you are interested, or at least if you are not knowing about that topic, make sure you come and you learn something, because we are inviting good industry experts and the best people here from the industry, so that you can learn from their experiences, learn from their knowledge, and also like upskill yourself. And I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you learned a lot of new things. So make sure like all the links of DevIncept are there in the description box below. So do check it out. Also reach out to Arvind if you have any questions related to Elastic. He's very active on LinkedIn. So make sure you reach out to him if you have any questions, if you need any help, if you want to join the Elastic community. So make sure you interact with him there on LinkedIn. Also, I've posted all the links of like Arvind, everything I've posted. So if you want it again, you can reach out to me back on LinkedIn, okay, or you can like join our Slack. We'll be sharing all our whatever links of Arvind in the Slack channel. So if you haven't joined our Slack, in the link you'll find the link in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next session, which is going to be in the evening. Till then, take care, stay safe, and keep learning and keep developing. Bye, everyone.